Hello everybody and welcome to our channel. I'm Viviana.
And I'm Alex.
And we have been married for 27 years, and a lot of people have been curious about our relationship because my husband was 14 years old and I was 15 years old when we got married. So we are going to share our experiences, our relationships, and our thoughts about just how this has all happened and how we've been managing our marriage and our relationship.
And we'll talk a little bit about the early days on how we did everything and as we went along, and then a little bit about our life of how we're managing now as two professionals and having older kids and having grandkids. So a lot of changes. So join us for the ride. It's going to be a great one.
Your eyes, a galaxy of stars, capture me, hold me in your arms. Your smile, a ray of sunshine bright, makes my world feel warm and right. You're my everything, my guiding light. You fill my days and make my nights. I'm lost in you, my love so true. Forever yours, me and you. We dance through life, hand in hand. A love so pure across the land. With every beat, my heart does sleep. You're all I need, you're all I keep. You're my everything, my guiding light. You fill my days and make my nights.
Hello everybody, welcome back to our channel. I'm Viviana,
And I'm Alex.
and we have been sharing with you all about our relationship and how it all started when Alex was 14 years old and I was 15 years old when we got married. And so today we are going to start our conversation about the first year married and with our daughter. So we kind of went through high school a little bit and how, we met and the challenges with our families and things like that. So now we're in high school and we had Gorda, our first daughter.
Vivianita.
Yes. So we talked about how we told our parents that we were pregnant.
Right.
And then,
and we picked you up at your house and dodged some bullets. And we moved into my mom's house.
Right.
And
So
then, yeah.
So we talked about that, and then now pregnancy and being pregnant. I was in high school. Well, we were both already
You were in high school, I was in middle school.
right, but then that was when I was pregnant, and I had my daughter during the summer. So
Yes,
Vivianita
in August
was born in August. So
25th.
let's see, April moved in with you.
Mm-hmm.
So we were going to school during that time. And then in August, Vivianita was born. So that was in the summer for us to start another school year, right?
Yes.
So the whole transition of moving in, we talked a little bit about that. Pregnancy, let's start there. So me being pregnant, you being 14, I'm 15, we moved in. What's going on?
Well, so first, I think when you moved in, it was towards the end of the school year, and then I got a job with my dad. Started working. My dad's a painter, so I started working with my dad as a painter, and he would pay me $100 a week. It's like worse than Napoleon Dynamite pay.
And when he says painters, actual painting of houses.
Painting houses, and started working there, and I would make $100 a week. Viviana would wake up in the morning like my mom and made me breakfast, and
We were just talking a little bit about that with our kids, where we used to go on this pep bus, is what they called the bus to school.
Well, that was after the summer once the baby was born, and then we
Right.
started going on the pet bus.
But during the time that you were working and I was
Mhm.
pregnant, Alex was just a kid, and he was just telling, was it the kids that you were telling that I was born an adult?
Yeah, like, you know, they say that men take about till the age of 30 to mature, and Viviana just kind of felt like she was born a mom, right? You're always taking care of your brothers and your sisters, and you're the oldest in
Well,
the family.
And I kind of transitioned to the same thing, but I felt like caring for Alex. Like
For Alex and the baby.
I had to wake him up and try to get him ready for school because otherwise we were going to be late. And when he
Or
would
we
work,
wouldn't even go.
or that. And then when he would work, I was just telling my son that I had to wake up, you know, just like my mother-in-law, to make lunch for him so that he can go work
So
at
when
5 in
you-
the morning.
Yeah, when you work as a painter or anything in construction in Laredo or cutting grass or whatever, you go in really early in the morning because it gets so hot that you have to finish early. So we would wake up and like at 5 in the morning, eat breakfast, make us lunch, and we'd be at the job site, you know, at 6:30, 7 in the morning to start working when it's still a little bit cool, and then we'd be done by like 2:30 in the afternoon, ready to go home because it's so hot outside. But that meant that you had to wake up at 4:30, 5 in the morning to make lunch so that me and my dad could go off to work. Because that was during the summertime. Well, when I first started working. So yeah, we're talking about that with the kids recently.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now, you know, pregnancy is different for my second one because one, I was really young, I knew nothing, so I was just going with what my in-law and my mom would say and how things used to be different. You know, I remember a little bit of who my doctor was and how things would go as far as like my pregnancy, and it was very different from the second one. But I was 15, and then Alex in June the 2nd, it was his birthday, so he was 15 too. So during that time, before my daughter was born in August, we were both 15 years old. So when we had our first child, Vivianita, we call her Gorda and she hates it. And Alex we were both 15.
Uh-huh.
So at that time, what do you remember when we were about to have Gorda?
I remember we were out somewhere with my aunt.
I think it was at your aunt's house.
Yeah, we were out somewhere, and then we went to my aunt's house, Tia Connie's house,
Uh-huh.
and then you said, "Hey, I think I'm bleeding." We're like,
And there was a full moon. And
yeah, there's a full moon. We're like, "Oh no, you didn't wear the keychain around your belly button."
Seguro.
Yeah. So we told my mom and my aunt. We jumped in my aunt's car, and we drove to the hospital. They said, "Yeah, the baby's coming." So we got there in the middle of the night, and they held it as much as they could, or they held her as much as they could, and then she was born in the morning. I remember that they were like, "Oh no, this kid can't be in here," and they're like, "No, he's the dad. Like he could be in here, right?" So the doctor had me wait outside until the last minute, and then when the baby was coming, "Hey, hurry up, come on in, the baby's coming." So they let me run in there, and I went in with Viviana and held her hand, and our baby was born, and they cleaned her up and everything, and they gave her to me to hold, and my first thought to do was, I'm gonna just show her to my mom. So I took her and I went outside, and I left the place where you were having the baby, and I went outside to the waiting room to show everybody the baby.
And there goes the nurses and everybody behind you. Hey!
And I remember
I'm
I
trying
was
to get
I
you.
remember I was crying and I was holding her. I don't know, I was super emotional, but I started crying like when I saw her. And then I showed her to my parents and to your parents. Everybody was at your grandma. And I was like, "Hey, look, it's Vivianita."
Yeah.
And then I brought her back, and they called me back. And I remember they said, "Oh, Viviana has to go to recovery. We're gonna take the baby to get her all set up." And I don't think you had seen her yet. It wasn't like before where they would give her to you to put her on your chest. Like now, I mean, like she was just born. They handed her to me. I gave her back to the nurse, and they took her away. And then they rolled you out of the surgery room. And I was like, "Hey, B, she has curly hair like you, because you could tell the little wavy hair. Like she's got your curly hair." And then you're like kind of out of it, like, oh. And you were gone for a little bit until they said you were ready.
Right. So
that's what I remember.
So he got to be part of the birth, but just like he said, his first instinct was, to grab her and got emotional, but took her out to show our daughter to his parents.
Yeah. I was like, I gotta show her to my mom. It's the first thought.
And so after that, reality, right? Where
So then we came home, and we were still living in my childhood bedroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our next thought was, hey, you know what? Like, we need to buy a house, right? We need to buy a house so we can have our own space. There's a lot of, everybody's different. So trying to, first off, get used to each other, living together and all that as husband and wife. But then you add the extra dynamic of my mom and the way my dad is and the way my brothers and sisters were. I think at that point the only sibling that still lived there with us was my little brother. But we had my mom, we had my dad, so it was kind of closing in on us a little bit. So that summer, after she was born, my parents said, "Hey, I think it was a year later, right? We've been living there for a year."
Mm-hmm.
But my parents said, "We're gonna take this big trip. We're gonna go to Disneyland and everything to California. We should all go." But my godfather, Chachis, he had built this little house. It was just like a little studio apartment. So it's a tiny little house. And he's like, "Oh, I'm trying to get rid of it. I'm gonna sell it for $1,000." And we were like, "Hey, instead of going on that trip, why don't we save up and buy this little house?" And we bought it. We moved it into the back to my mom's backyard, and that's where we lived for the next couple of years.
I think it was like a year, because then after I graduated high school.
Well, that was 4 years later.
That's
Yeah,
true.
so we lived there for a couple of years.
We were back in this small house, like literally like a room. It was one room with a bathroom.
Just one big room with a bathroom.
But it was the best feeling ever. I remember thinking like, "Oh my God, we have our own home."
And I'll describe it to you guys. You walk into the room, and there's a little kitchen table, little tiny 4-seater. There's a cabinet with a sink, a cabinet out of place on the corner over here. We put our groceries and stuff. And then there was it was a milk carton, remember? It was a little milk carton. We put all our shoes in there. We kind of stick them in there, and the little tiny TV on top of it. And then our bed, and that was it. That was the size of the whole thing for us. And we didn't even have a bathroom when it was back at my mom's house.
We'd have to go use the bathroom.
Yeah, we'd go use the bathroom at my mom's house.
We added the bathroom.
Yeah, when Viviana graduated high school, a couple years later, we moved to another little town across, like a couple miles away, and we moved the little house over there. We bought a lot. The lot was ours, and we moved the house into that lot, and
but we were so happy.
And we put a restroom, a fancy restroom. Remember, we built had a shower and a closet, and
so that year was,
those couple of years.
Those couple of years were hard, but we had Vivianita, and
So during that time, the pet bus is what you keep hearing. There's a bus for teenage pregnancy was such a problem in our high school when we were kids that they had to put a daycare in the high school, and then also provide a bus with baby car seats and everything so that we can take the kids to school with us, drop them off at the daycare. We didn't do that. We had a separate daycare that we would take Vivianita to, but the bus would pick us up, help us drop off the kids at that daycare. and then take us to school. And that was like a 2.5 hour ride from where we lived to the school, because we had to go all around town picking up all these teenage moms everywhere. They should have made a show about that, huh?
Right. So then Vivianita was born in August, and then during the time, you save up for that house, and during the time that she was going to daycare, she had a wonderful teacher there, Miss Ana Rodriguez.
Miss Rodriguez.
And we, like any other child,
shout out to Tiny Angels Daycare.
She noticed, and we noticed that Vivianita was not saying any words, or she had these noises and tried to do, the.
She would open her mouth and make noises, but no phonics were coming out, is what she said. So she said she's supposed to be saying about these many words by now, and she has no speech.
So we kind of tried to get her just like any other parent, mama, and say dad, and then Spanish words and things like that. But it was we just noticed that it was different. Now she grew up with cousins, and of course, just like now us with our grandbaby, that oh my God, she's saying all these things and she can do this and that. And with Vivianita, we noticed that she would focus, as she was getting older, looking at us at our mouths as we would say things. And so that's when we kind of start paying more attention and saying, well, he's not saying words, and it was just different.
She would say, she was smart to read lips, but you would say mama, and that was easy for her because she could see your lips. So she would say mama.
Right.
And then my sister would ask her to say Sonia, and she would go ooh ah, because she would think she was reading her lips. And then let's back up a little bit, because before that happened, probably like a month into her being born,
Vivianita was born,
so
and maybe because we got married in November, so she was born in August, and September, October, November, we went to the hospital.
So immediately after she was born with some red dots, capillaries. They were just like little dots, like we thought they were moles. And then like a week or two later, they started growing super fast. And then we took her to the doctor. They said, it's like a benign tumor. It'll go down after a while. And then we started noticing that she was having trouble breathing at night when she was a baby. So we're like, hey man, this doesn't seem right. And I'm like, okay, well, let's send her to a specialist. So we went to a specialist in San Antonio, and it was cutting off her breathing. So they said we need to address that right away. So we stayed in San Antonio for like a month or something over there.
Wow. So Vivianita had that
hemangioma.
Hemangioma. And it was very difficult for them to, just open it up or try to figure out what was wrong with her, because she could bleed to death, right? So we were in the hospital, and she was really just their guinea pig for a month. They were trying different medications, trying to see what was going on. We didn't have insurance,
so we had Medicaid, right? So it was a Medicaid hospital. There's a lot of student nurses, student doctors, right? People doing their whatever you call their internships and stuff like that. So it was not uncommon for them to. This was a very uncommon situation where you had a capillary and hemangioma together at the same time, and it was growing so fast that it wasn't uncommon for there to be like a whole group of doctors coming, right? Like the doctors and students as well, where you'd have like a room full of people, like 10, 15 people just looking at Vivianita, trying to figure out what it was and all that. So usually what they said is that the hemangiomas, as they grow with age, they recede and then it goes back to normal. But the rate of growth was a lot faster than a regular one would be. So they decided to do a series of injections. I think it was like a 30-day series of injections to stop the growth of of the hemangioma, right?
And so at that time,
Mhm.
we were students. I had to,
In high
you know,
school?
homebound. Alex was in high school. You were now a freshman.
Mhm.
You had to start school. And this is when, you know, if we thought it had already been very challenging and trying to parent, pregnancy, work, school, it was overwhelming for a 14, 15-year-old. And so then here comes another challenge, right, with our daughter Viviana and trying to figure out what was wrong, and the doctor telling you, oh, you have to stay here. We need to figure out what's going on with her because she's affecting her breathing. So that's when I had to stay. This was in San Antonio. We lived in Laredo. Alex had to go back to Laredo to go to school, and then he would come on the bus to San Antonio and stay at the Ronald McDonald's house because they only allowed one of us to stay. So I stayed with my daughter Viviana in the hospital. And then he would come and visit. He would bring his homework.
I was 15 years old, and I'd have to, at the end of the day, when visiting hours were over, I would go take public transportation. 15 years old, right? I'd get in the bus in San Antonio, filled with homeless people and everything, and then I would make it to the Ronald McDonald House, which was awesome. I thought you eat whatever you want. They had a pantry full of food. They had
vouchers, the coupons.
Well, that was at the hospital, but at the Ronald McDonald House, the rule was you can eat whatever you want, make whatever you want. You just have to clean up after yourself. They had like libraries of DVDs. You can watch movies and stuff like that. So I would get there, like get something to eat, put on a movie, and then you stay in your own bed. And then in your own room, you have your own bed in your room and everything. And there was a lot of families there that were from like South America, Mexico, that would come in for surgeries at these hospitals, right? Because these were the hospitals where they would take in and they do trials and stuff like that. So there was a lot of people that would come in, and there was a lot of kids that had cancer, cleft palates, and stuff like that would stay at the Ronald McDonald House. They would come and visit their doctor and stay there, and then go back home. So I would get to see a lot of kids that were in really bad shape. So Vivianita, even though she had something they were trying to work out or whatever, we were like, well, there's really nothing wrong with her. But we were kids. So now that we're nurses, a couple of things that happened when she was there. She had an infiltration in her IV while we were there. Remember, the IV started leaking into, and we're like, oh, that's turned purple. Oh, sorry, we'll take that off and because this was a hospital of students.
Yeah, they're trials. They
take the IV and put it over, but we didn't have money, right? We had Medicaid, and it was
we were kids.
We were kids. We don't know, so it's just that doesn't look right. Oh, let's switch it over here, or okay, we're gonna give you these series of medications that is gonna affect her hearing nerve, so she might not hear. Nothing was ever told to us, and we didn't have to ask.
And if we go back, she didn't even get tested when she was born.
Yeah, we went back to
hearing,
see if nothing. So she's like, all right, here's this package of 30 shots. Take it with you, and you're just gonna give her 30 shots for the next 30 days.
And it was supposed to be when I had to learn how to give her these injections. It was going to be a series of injections every day for a year. But there was, they were put like in series that we had to try on her. So they taught me how to do this. Again, now that, almost 20 years later, and that we're nurses now, and that we've learned all this, we see how there was so many things that were done incorrectly, and we never asked any questions.
Right.
And my baby was just.
We never knew that might be a possibility where Vivianita was going to be affected with her hearing. So we didn't. We found out until she was how old was she? Like 2 years old.
Almost 2.
Almost 2 years old. So like almost a year later that.
This affected her hearing.
Affected her hearing.
Yeah.
But we're grateful, right? We brought back our daughter. We'd been there for about a month or 3 months in the hospital. So Viviana's staying over there, and finally my brother and my uncle Beto picked us up, brought us back home. And we came back home because we were going to come and get married, right?
Like
So,
officially made
officially
it,
get married,
have the judge have a party,
have a party.
and you know, it was just back to back things happening.
So I call Viviana. I say, hey Viviana, guess what? My cousin Vanessa and her boyfriend Victor are getting married, and this is my favorite aunt, my closest aunt that I have in Tiaconi, and my closest cousin. Me and Vanessa were always together, right? We spent all our summers together and everything. So my aunt Connie told my mom, hey, these kids are getting married. Why doesn't Viviana and Alex get married, have a double wedding? So I told Viviana, I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So Viviana's dad bought her a dress in Mexico, right? Your wedding dress. And then my mom bought the rings, and everybody just kind of helped us out. Everybody pitched in. That's what you
To
do.
make a wedding.
Yeah, and
We call them padrinos.
padrinos.
Before, that's what you would do, whether it is a quinceañera or a party, and you get padrinos from your
Yeah.
closest family and friends to sign up for what they want to help for.
Yeah, nobody has money for anything until there's a party. Then everybody pitches in, and you come up with a party. So we got married. We came back. We came back to get married, and the wedding was supposed to take effect November the 14th. We had the date inscripted in our wedding bands inside. It says November the 14th.
Still does.
But it was too cold, and it was an outdoor wedding, so we ended up having to wait another week, and we got married on November the 21st.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was crazy, to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
What were you
insane.
gonna say?
Just a fun fact about that: we got married at my aunt's house, and then eventually we bought that house
We
to
lived and raised our next
other,
kids. Are,
yeah, the
are
twins were born in that house. Yeah.
But we'll go. You're going fast forward now.
Yeah, I'm going
So,
too far out. This is
yeah.
just a fun fact.
But yes, so that's how it went when we had our first baby girl, Vivianita, who now is going to be turning 28.
28 years old this
In
weekend on
In
Monday.
a few days, she's
Mhm.
going to be 28. She is one of our biggest blessings.
Oh yeah.
And I mean,
Smart little girl. Viviana tends to do this a lot. Vivianita was born with that deficiency, and we as parents, we weren't trying to do it on purpose or anything, but we as parents, we did, I think, a really good job of shoving her into the water. All right, we would take her to McDonald's, let her play in the playscape, and we could see her talk. She can't talk. You can see her trying to communicate with the kids, and the kids were like asking her questions, and she's not answering, and like, oh, this girl doesn't want to talk to us. Let's go. And she'd be like, sees another group of kids like, right? So she'll go try to communicate with them. Never did she ever feel like, oh, I'm sorry me that I can't talk, or I'm gonna go hide behind my mom, or us stepping in to say, oh, it's because she's deaf. She would always find a way. She was very smart. She would always find a way to communicate with kids, to make friends. She's the most popular kid at school. She would listen to music, even that, like, she would be like, you know, chilling to the music, and then you listen to it. She's listening to it. It's corridos or the news or something.
She was dancing like if it was a hip hop song.
Yeah.
It just, when it comes to our kids, obviously as parents, it's difficult to go back, talk about our challenges, and now we see our kids as adults and us, right, as empty nesters now, and 28 years later being married and talking about these and the things that we went through, you know, and how we brought up our kids, right? And it's just different.
And I think also for the twins didn't come until 7 years after. So for the first 7 years, she never saw that there was issues with the way people treated her. She didn't care about any of that. But we, on the other hand,
We did.
especially Viviana, we fought tooth and nail for this little girl. There was so many things where people had problems with oh, she can't be in the cheerleading team because I can't communicate with her. Oh, excuse me?
There's a lot of things like that when she was growing up,
Yeah.
and the challenges that I had to go through.
Starting from school,
from the
to
very
sports,
beginning.
to everything. But she never had any idea of what was going on, never felt left out, never just kind of, she was always like,
We never allowed that
Yeah.
to happen. She was gonna do what she wanted to, regardless.
and she always felt she was a little bit better than everybody else.
That self-confidence that she still carries.
Self-confidence,
It
yeah.
is because we think we raised her
Yeah.
that no matter what.
Jump in the deep end. You can do it.
That's right.
Literally. That's how she learned how to swim too.
So, see, and now she's actually calling us right now.
Yeah.
She's FaceTiming us. But that is the first part of our marriage with a baby as a 15-year-old. The hospital, the whole first part of her being pregnant, and God willing.
Of you being pregnant, not her.
Being pregnant.
She's not pregnant yet.
And in a few days celebrating 28 years of Mijita's birthday.
I think on the next one we should talk about, give you a sneak peek, on the next one we should talk about Vivianita's first 7 years. Like all the adventures that she went through and all the stuff that we had to do.
Before her siblings.
Oh yeah, because there was fights and battles with the school district and
So
other
crazy.
people, and yeah, it was something else.
Yeah.
But again, 15, 16, 17, still
17,
kids,
We're still kids trying to raise kids, right?
ghetto ass kids.
But that is it for now. We will continue. I just, it's difficult to go back, but also to make time for these videos that we want to share with you, because it's life, right? We work, and so it's hard to make time for this, but we will share as much as we can. So we appreciate you watching.
And hopefully you guys enjoy these, but also this is a great thing for anybody to do for their own kids,
Right.
so that in the future they have these things so they can look back to and say, oh, I didn't know that, or oh, I remember that, or whatever.
And
the
for
case
our
is.
kids.
Yeah, for each
To
for
watch.
us, for our kids, it's great because you guys are getting to watch it, but for our kids to watch it as well.
So thank you again for watching, and we will see you next time.